Blog Talk Radio.
Hello everyone, this is chrism, and I'd like to welcome you to this conversation about your Kundalini awakening experience. My name is chrism, and we're just going to launch into it like we normally do. I'd like to welcome everybody in the chat room. Hello everyone there, and all the call-ins. Hello everybody, and welcome to everybody who is listening in the archives. How do you know that you have the ability to have and hold Kundalini in a responsible way? How do you know this? We have an echo. Okay. Sound is not good. Let's see here. Is it still not good? Is everybody hearing an echo? Cole, can you write? Phil, Mary Jean? I'm going to wait here a little bit before we get too far into the show. If there's no echo there. Okay. Yeah, very important that people can hear. No echo. It just sounds a bit tinny. Like I'm actually in a smaller room. I'm in the white room. Thank you, Tim. Yeah. You hear everything two times. Manisha, why don't you log back in? Log out and then log in again and see if that will help. I'm going to go ahead and move the computer onto my lamp here. I am in an echoey type of room. We have lots of call-ins today, and I would like to direct Santara's attention to the call-ins. We have a lot of people wanting to call in. It looks like have Santara, hello.
Hi, chrism. Yes, I see that.
Are you doing that? Or are you gonna?
I'm watching them, and I'm attending to that.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. All righty then. How do you know that you can have and you can hold the Kundalini? What knowledge of it do you have that gives you that information? It's interesting because people seem to have the understanding that Kundalini is just something that you can have, and once you have it, everything's good. Everything's fine. Nothing is really, nothing's going to bother you or nothing's going to get in your way, and you can just have this. You can have the power of 1,000 supernovas in your body at the same time, and nothing's going to really get in the way for you, right? You're not going to receive any challenges. It's just going to be kind of like nice and easy going. Well, this has not been my experience, not with myself and not with helping other people into and through the Kundalini at all. It's far more complicated than just having it and then being a happy camper. Okay, it takes levels of extreme surrender, extreme tolerance, extreme honesty, extreme truth, extreme love. Everything at the beginning of the Kundalini is very, very, very extreme. You know, the symptoms can be very extreme. You know, if you just look at the kriyas, you know, you're being stretched and you're being forced to place your body in specific positions. You're being refined in your emotional systems. You're being pushed with emotional kriyas to even contemplate the idea of surrender, to even contemplate the idea of not being competitive or not being as you have been in society your whole life. So, from a farming standpoint, it would be like you no longer have to get up at 4 in the morning and get the engines ready and check the oil. You don't have to do that anymore. Okay. It's changed for you. And if you live in the inner city and you're working at a restaurant or something like that, and the certain preparations that you go into to accept those job responsibilities, well, you're no longer doing that, or you're no longer having to accept that kind of responsibility anymore. With the Kundalini, you have to change. You have to be willing to change. I'm not sure those analogies work so well. Forgive me. But yeah, it's very, very, very important. And I'm going to talk to Vincent right now. Vincent, we'll talk with you later on about your mantra, okay? Don't worry, we'll be covering that. So yeah, how do you know you have the ability to be responsible inside of this 10,000 supernovas worth of energy inside your body without ever having been there before? How can you know? What level of hubris does it allow a person to think that they can just do that without any level of change, without any level of refinement? And what would make a person think that would be easy? How would that be easy? In a way, in a very strong way, in a very real way, we are talking about semi-divinity. What does that mean to a person? What does it mean to be semi-divine, the son of Zeus or the daughter of Hera, to use the Greek examples? What does it mean to be semi-divine? And how would that come upon you if you're not willing to change how you've been in order to accept how you are becoming? Do you see what I'm saying? You are the person you are right now. Beautiful, wonderful, happy, healthy individual. You have families, you have jobs, you have responsibilities, you're living your life well, you're on the Kundalini path, but you're living your life within a certain set of rules and responsibilities that the Kundalini may just want to change, radically change. How do you handle that? How do you handle when the Kundalini says, well, you must start doing this now, and say it's something that you don't like to do? How do you handle that? Do you resist? That's the typical thing. People typically just say, oh, God, I don't want to do. What I did early on in my process is, I heard about the Kundalini. I heard how bad it was. And I said, well, I'm skipping that. Forget that Kundalini stuff. I want no part of that. No way, no thank you, no how. And of course, that just drove me into it deeper. It just turned into it. I just sunk deeper into the Kundalini. It's like I was sinking into quicksand, into soil, and without a breathing tube, right? I had to learn how to breathe the Shakti. I had to learn how to let her breathe through me. And that's the only way I was going to be allowed to stay alive. So, can you do that? Can you give up something as essential as breathing to the Kundalini without resistance? Which is, of course, the best way to go, but you know what I was doing. I was struggling. I was trying to swim out of that quicksand. I was doing that. I was doing my best breaststroke, and it just wasn't getting me anywhere. I was sinking deeper and deeper and deeper. Nobody's over there with a bamboo pole helping to pull me out. You're alone in the wilderness and you're sinking. And you just have to make the change. You have to make the transformation. But there can be levels of panic involved here. You know, as you gasp and gasp and gasp and try to keep your head above the quicksand, and inexorably you're sinking down millimeter by millimeter, and the more you thrash, the more you sink. You have time to contemplate what is happening to you, this death that is occurring for you. And let's make no mistake, folks. It feels like a death. It feels like you're, oh my God, my whole life is ending. And it is. It is ending. In very real ways. No longer are you that competitive person. No longer are you that person that you know, it's okay to cheat. It's okay to kill indiscriminately. It's okay to hunt because it's sporting. I'm not stepping on anybody's toes here. You know, it's very, very important for you to realize that, in a way, when the Kundalini comes upon you and you begin to make these changes within you, you are being designed from inside out to become semi-divine. And semi-divinity lives in a very, very different world. A very different world where God is easily communicated with, where God as Shakti and Shiva, or Jesus and Mary, or Buddha and Kuan Yin. I mean, you name the sacred feminine and sacred masculine partnerships, and they apply. Okay, where these partnerships are coming in absolute expression through you, and you have no other opportunity but to accept this. You must accept it. And as you accept it, it accepts you. They accept you. And you change your life. You become a being of physical material and light material at the same time. Homo luminosis. A luminous physical being. And those luminous qualities extend into the emotional life, where you change how you have been relating with people, especially the people that really, really push your buttons, families or teachers or you know, boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. I mean, the people in your family that can really, really push your buttons so hard, you change how you respond to that stimulus. No longer are you the inner 7-year-old extroverted. No longer do you lash out in anger or vengeance or old grudges coming to the fore. No longer do you find blame and do you have to be right all the time. No longer do you force your ego upon people because that's what they're doing to you. Got to remember, we live in this world of ego, and ego is around us all the time. That's what makes it such a perfect place for the testing of divine humanity. What the unawakened egos do for our ego is to leverage us into that transformation, to leverage us through testing, through abuse, through harsh treatment, into the stronger vibrations and the stronger enlightenment of the semi-divine. This is all about semi-divine today, people. This is what I'm getting. This is all about what it is to be semi-divine and have the Kundalini. Extremely important to understand where you're going. What is your target? What does that goal entail? What do you have to do to get there? With the Kundalini, the first thing you need to do is really to surrender to its majesty. Surrender to its control of your consciousness and how you think about how you respond to given stimuli within society. Are you forgiving? Are you tolerant? Are you afraid? Do you have that fear of loss and want of gain mentality? Are you so competitive that you're having a hard time turning off that competition, and every friend that you have is a competitive friend, or you always have to joust whenever you're out and about having a good time? It's all about word play. That is an analogy for sword play, fencing with words. Who's the funniest? Who's the most provocative? And do you base your personality on this? Are you able to really, really verbally express yourself so well that any kind of a physical altercation, it turns into a verbal altercation, which you're really good at, and so you compete with people that way, even your friends? Is it that way? Are you willing to change that? Doesn't mean you become as dull as a slug, although sometimes that may occur, just so that you can experience the changed parameter in the broadened spectrum of your response to life given by the Kundalini. How are you willing to change your life from your everyday response to sitting at that stoplight behind a car who's texting on their cell phone as the light turns green? How are you handling that? How quick does your hand go to that horn? Think about that. How quick does your hand go to that horn? And when it goes to that horn, how long do you lean on it? So I want you to really, really look at how you are responding in society in the framework of a divine physical being, a baby divine being, somebody who's just been introduced to Kundalini. That Kundalini is coming into them, and they're having expanded levels of emotion, expanded levels of telepathy, expanded levels of physical movement of the energetic within them. How are they responding to the attacks, say from a discarnate source, like an entity? And even worse, if you can see entities sitting on the heads of those who are sleeping, influencing their thoughts, influencing their moods. And of course, if you can see them, well, they can see you too. How are you responding? Are you responding with disgust? Are you responding with, as a healer, are you saying, oh my God, I got to save that person? It's like, look what that entity's doing with it. Oh God, it's got a tentacle in every orifice. Oh my God. Can you back up a little bit? Can you pull yourself into a wider orbit around this world, and can you see the divine matrix that is occurring, and how people are being taught, and through what levels of divine intervention are being given every second of every day? And how do you fit into that within a Kundalini context? How are you fitting in to the divine matrix being a divine physical being? Do you have expectation that some of these changes just come up automatically, and that you don't really have to reach into it and dredge out your soul and replace it manually with these cares and with these concerns and with these expanded levels of responsibility and love and forgiveness and graciousness and tolerance and honesty and truth and joy and self-discipline and self-transformation, to name a few? How are you handling this? Let's ask some people here. Hello, Santara.
Hello, Chrism.
Oh. Hey,
Hi,
how are
Chris.
you handling it? How are you handling it, my dear?
Sometimes well, sometimes not so well. I was smiling at, what you're saying, the analogy of the car. When something happens like that and somebody pulls out, how do I respond? And how long do I keep my hand on that horn? Yeah, I mean, sometimes, well, I mean, how I'm handling it, I mean, seriously, how I'm handling it is I'm using the safeties. I mean, those are my compass, my helm. I mean, I use them all the time. I've been using the safeties for I don't know how many years now, and they help me because my ego response, you know, I mean, it's interesting. It depends very much, you know, if it's some things will trigger my ego response much more than other things. So I can be quite and patient and considerate and loving and all of those things in some situations that might appear to be, let's say, challenging, but for me, it's easy. And in other situations, I find that my response is automatically to respond in a way that's not that way, like that might be hurtful, or I want to get in my own opinion or make myself heard in a situation. And what I have discovered is that the safeties, when I use them first, that is what helps me not to respond from an ego position. So yeah, I mean, sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not so good, but when I use the safeties, that's what saves me, chrism. That's what helps me to respond differently. And yeah, that's it, really.
Absolutely.
Ask me something else if I haven't answered. Have I answered your question? I even forget what it was.
Well, I didn't have for this one I did not have a set answer. I just I wanted your honest response. And the safeties are a good response. The safeties, because they are put down for logical, linear people, they don't cover everything, unfortunately. And I guess maybe that's a good thing too, because there needs to be undiscovered country for people to figure out on their own. And there's plenty of undiscovered country within the Kundalini and how it interacts with us within our lifetimes, and how we're able to find levels of surrender and tolerance and to look at justice in a different way, and trust in a different way, and faith in a different way, and so yeah, I think your use of the safeties is very, very good, very, very good, and a good answer. And I'm gonna move on to another person here. Oh, moving you back. What? Go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say that also though. Things have changed for me with regard to when I see things happening. You know, you were speaking earlier about I watch things happening now, and I'm able to understand, you know, what is happening for another person, and step back from that and just, you know, radiate love in a situation that before I would have been in there, let's use the word rescuing somebody. My intention would have been good, but I can see, you know, those are areas that there's been a lot of change for me.
Excellent. I'm going to put you in the blue here. Here we are. And I'm going to say hello to Eileen Laurel. How are you, Eileen Laurel?
Oh, I'm fine.
Tell me, Eileen, how are you handling this? How are you handling these changes? What changes have come upon you that allow you to recognize the divinity within you and to embrace the changes that the divine is making upon you?
Oh, well, I don't do that well, actually. I'm very cognizant lately of the interactions with people, and finding that, like so many people, I really feel a need to be by myself, and being okay with that, and knowing that that's just part of the process. And when I do interact with people, I have to consciously watch what I say and try to be nice sometimes it's really difficult in the situations that I get into. But to me, that's all part of the process, learning how to be this different person with other people. And
how are you different? What changes in you that you've noticed?
I think one of the big changes is the detachment from things. I never was really into a lot of stuff, wanting a lot of things, material things, but yet it was nice having things, but it just doesn't seem important anymore. I was talking to my sister about downsizing it again. I've done it so many times. And right away she goes into, well, you'll have to get a storage unit to put your things in. And I'm going, no, I don't feel a need to have these things. I have things now because that's my situation at this moment. But it's not that I need these things or have any attachment to them. That to me is a big change. It's almost like I'm walking around free.
Nice. You know, that's an excellent example. I mean, to really downsize and to be able to just hold that space, that extra space that you're given because of the lack of attachment. It's an excellent example, Eileen. Thank you. I'm going to put you in the blue here. And coming over to this caller. Hello, 9249. Hello, is this Brooke? Well, let's just move that right into the blue. And this is a person that we don't get to hear from so much, so I'm really, really happy that she's on the line. Hi, Joey.
Hi.
How are you?
I am fine. I've been enjoying Rosemary's company.
Oh, well, what's not to enjoy?
Yes.
Yes. What changes have you noticed in your life that corresponds, say, with a divine invective to really manifest within you, a divine vector, so to speak, to really manifest change in you? What have you noticed that you have had to do in order to incorporate that or to surrender to it? What's going on with you?
Being more aware of Kundalini, of goodness, of God, being more aware of that in my life, watching my thinking. I feel like I'm just at the beginning. I guess you're always at the beginning, but I just feel I need to make sure my attitude is positive. And in order to do that, I have to be more aware of God, of Kundalini in my life. And that's what I'm trying to do.
That's excellent. That's really good. That is so amazingly important. To have a positive attitude about the changes that the Kundalini is giving you is so very, very important. And especially when those changes are difficult. You know? When they expose, say, a nerve within you that would resist.
Yes. Self-discipline is a biggie.
Yes, self-discipline is a biggie. And do you feel the results of that immediately, Joey? Do you typically feel the results of your positive attitude?
I feel that the some of the negative is falling away. Some of the fear, some of the negative anticipation. I'm having less of that.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I want to thank you, Joey, and it's really good to hear your voice on the program. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
And moving into the blue, and coming over to Her Holiness, Rosemary, the Mother Superior. How are you?
Well, I'm fine, and I'm sitting here getting ready for Saturday and Sunday in Expo, and thinking about your question. And I was thinking today about doing this work, and that's always wondering if I'm doing what she wants me to do.
She being the sacred feminine.
Yes, Shakti.
Okay.
And I mostly just, I think, follow from inside myself, like what ideas had come to me, and I just keep moving along, and that. But one thing, right before you connected here, what for me that you know about is the gathering with my sisters, in which I chose not to go, and that's happening. They're all traveling today, this Wednesday till next Wednesday. And that's probably, in an emotional way, is probably the hardest thing that I did.
Sure. Because if you give people a little bit of background, you guys never miss a family gathering, right?
Oh, nobody's ever not gotten there. 6 of us. We had no brothers, and we live literally coast to coast in 5 states. And every year and a half we get together, and once a month we talk on a conference line. So we've been doing that calling about 10 years, and we have probably 20 years of doing these about a week and a half. Well, about a week at the most together. And we
what has fostered your decision not to go?
Well, some difficulty that has existed with one of my sisters, but we've never really dealt with it, and because I think we just didn't know how, and I just saw how much whatever was within myself was upsetting her, and well, I'll tell you, and it was hard, and even
what was upsetting her about you?
What was the what?
What was upsetting her about you?
Things from a long time ago that just she's kept hold of. But and I was working, really, and because you were working with me on it, and it didn't make any changes, and I just saw that it was very deep in there, and
wasn't it really about the Kundalini, though, recently?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Yes, it was. It actually, what triggered all of this was a misconception of her openness to what I was doing that I have shared with her. That was my error. And so I had invited her to come to the seminar last year.
And you also invited to come on to the radio show here. They've listened live to the radio show as well, correct?
Yes, she has.
Yeah. And I think this is a really good example is how you relate to family as I brought up earlier, family pushes the buttons the strongest because, we've been with them since we were children. And within a Kundalini context, in this semi-divine context, and the attitudes and the actions that we need to make in order to come and welcome that level of luminous consciousness within ourselves, we have to be able to help the family understand that we are who we are, whether they like it or not. Sometimes the teachings are difficult. Sometimes the teachings are not easy. And they're not easy for the family to have because they're going to be fairly intransigent.
They want it their way. It's going to be their way, and you're just going to have to subscribe to their way like you always did before. Right, Rosemary?
Sure. The ways that we have, I'm sure for every family, they're just how you manage the best that you can to be loving and kind, and you just step aside and you make it work because you don't want to. That's just the way it is. I think, Chrism, the answer, what for me was, I could see the impact of her negativity on me, and I'd love to share this, was in January, February, in which I tried again to help things, and the response was so harsh that night. And I kept doing the forgiveness practice, and I really thought I had succeeded with that. But I went to bed, and I may have shared this here before, and I woke up with darkness. I mean, not formed the evil spirit, but the darkness over my right shoulder and in front of me. And I'm jumping ahead, but I knew that I had attracted that by my response to my sister. I learned from that I'm responsible for the emotional field around me.
There you go.
And I know that I think I shared that, but I did dismiss that and stated my belonging to. Well, they said something to me that they belong to me. I think something like that, and I just
nice. And I think this is I wrote something about this on one of the Facebook groups today, is that the Kundalini will allow entities to come to you in order to test your ability to have and hold responsibly this level of power. They are corruption teachers, okay? And this entity came to you and basically said, this is yours. And basically, I guess, pointed you in the right direction, which is within. Yes. Within, to really, and what an amazing way of getting taught. What an outside of the box way that the Kundalini has of giving us these very, very important teachings. I want to thank you, Rosemary, for sharing that with us. It is something to be really aware of, my friends. Kundalini will test you and stretch you and torture you and cajole you and love you and support you in any way and in any combination of ways that it can in order to help you meet, one, your karmic responsibilities, and two, the responsibilities that you have in accepting the changes that are coming forward. All of these people that have just spoken have made some very, very, very good points. Amelia with the safeties, and Eileen with the attachments, and Joey with the appreciation of God and the appreciation of what she is doing in order to help her find greater strength and reliability within the luminous process. And then, of course, Rosemary, in receiving teachings and being pointed into her internal resources by an entity that the Kundalini within her allowed to come into her orbit, and her very, very, very accurate assessment of being responsible for the energetic and emotional energetic field around you. All of these examples are excellent examples of how we respond to the luminous content of the transformation that is taking place within us. And what level of respect do you give to the Kundalini? When it makes you do something that you don't want to do you cuss at it? Do you resist it? Do you try to talk it out of doing what it's doing, like, say, a Kriya, or having you self-correct an attitude or a behavior that you're not used self-correcting away from? How is it that you respond to the Kundalini itself? How is it that you respond to the teacher that the Kundalini gives to you? whether it's myself or anybody else who's doing this work. And I don't know, unfortunately, I don't know too many people that are doing this type of work. But how do you resist the Kundalini or try to bargain with the Kundalini? How is that done? And why is it done? And do you need to do it more than once? Okay. Some of you have a teacher. Some of you have a teacher that will push you exceptionally hard, really hard. And that teacher will push you into levels of self-refinement and change and transformation that will seem like you're being asked to ingest a mountain, a Sierra Madre of information and transformation and change all at the same time. And you better be good with it. Okay. She will test you in these ways. And don't think that you can't make a mistake. Of course, people make mistakes. This is, in many ways, it's the mistakes that teach us the best. What level of respect do you give into the Kundalini, even as she is forcing you to do things that you don't want to do? I'm reminded of a 2-year-old here. Most 2-year-olds, they don't really care about wearing clothes. They'll just run around naked. That's perfectly fine with them. And so, and sometimes they don't want to be dressed, and they've learned how to say no at that time. And they don't want to wear the diaper. They don't want to be dressed at all. They just as soon run and poop and pee and whatever. And they will scream and they will cry and they will, really give you a hard time as you're trying to put that diaper on them. Or, 3-year-olds are good at this too. And so it's very, very understandable to see what they are doing and to relate what you are doing to the Kundalini as she forces you to wear the luminous clothing. Because you're fine with cloth. You're good with cloth. You're good with leather. Maybe some of you are good with just your skin. You don't really necessarily want to have a diaper made out of light put upon you. You don't want to lay down on your back and lift your legs and have her, put that diaper of light upon you. You just as soon, go about your way. You've got your nice sweats and you got your nice shoes and you got your nice shirt, and that's fine for you. You don't want to have to wear anything else but that. And then here comes the Sacred Mother saying, honey, come on, let's get it on. I know. Just relax. Come on. And she'll coo and she'll coax you, and then she'll just throw it on you. Anybody who is a mother that is listening to this knows exactly what I'm talking about. And some of the fathers too. So this is what it's like for the Kundalini sometime as you wear that luminous diaper and you're running around like a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old thinking that you know everything. You know everything there is to know about what it is to be semi-divine, and you can hold this power, you can have this power, even though you don't know what it is, but you can do it because, well, that's the confidence of innocence that we have, that we all have. We have that as children, but we all have that as children of divinity, semi-divinity, as we move into that, to the grasp of the luminous divine, and that luminous frequency begins to change our cellular structure, and our transformation expands within those structures. Well, we're gonna, we'll be running around like little 3-year-old Luminosis children, thinking that we know it all, that we can do it all, and Divine Father, Mother, God, Kundalini is there to correct us. And we will resist that correction because we're so used to having it our way. As a matter of fact, we'll resist our corrections even more so than a little kid will resist the corrections that a human parent are giving them. We'll resist it more because, many of us are adults and we've been adults for some time. Hey, I've been alive so many years. I've been alive, 50 years, and I know how to live my life. I don't need some discarnate goddess, luminous or not, telling me what to do and how to do it. Right? So where are you making active changes towards accepting the divine guidance in you for the semi-divine qualities that you're going to be having, because you're not going to die to become enlightened. You're going to be enlightened in a living body. You are all in the process of being enlightened in a living biological body right now. The change, the puberty has begun. Or you're not even listening to this show. You're not even reading anything that this chrism character puts out, because you're just not even there yet. But you who are listening on the computers or in the chat room or calling in, you are listening, because it is happening to you, every single one of you. Now, if anybody would like to join the other call-ins right now and listen on the telephone, or to ask a question, feel free to call in. Here's call-in number 347. That's a New York area code, New York, United States. 347-934-0026. Feel free to call in, 347-934-0026. And Santara, Her Holiness, will answer your call. And she will let me know that I have a caller waiting, and I will get to you ASAP. So feel free to call in. Phil Karuba writes on the chat group, he says, maintaining my equanimity through mindfulness has proved to be very helpful, and I would agree. Not allowing yourself to go off in a hissy fit, but being mindful of what is happening and why it's happening and how that applies to you, and then moving into that surrender through mindfulness, through understanding. Very important for people to understand that this is the way to go with this. The light comes to you in many, many different ways. When I'm looking at a private student, for instance, I'll see certain diamond lights will shine out above their eyebrows or around their heads or floating around them, and it'll shine out for like a nanosecond, maybe a little longer than a nanosecond, on and off. And I'll see it, and it'll be of a certain frequency and a certain color. And I know that it's a communication to me that we're going on the right track. We're talking about the right things. They are being given the right instruction. All of the above. And so the luminosis aspect is a real thing. You'll really see it. For those of you that have Kundalini and have had it for a while, you'll see those floating suns. They're like extremely bright pinpoints of light that have a consciousness of their own, and they hang out in your visual field, and then they just kind of move on. Not like an orb. An orb is very different. An orb is typically much larger and belongs to a discarnate entity that hasn't moved on yet. Okay, and typically you don't get to see those with your naked eye. Those are typically caught with camera flashes, digital camera flashes, and so they're very, very different from what I'm talking about. Kundalini phenomena typically is in your face or behind your face, inside your body, something that is very, 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 very close to you, very much a level of intimacy with you that nobody else can partake of, just you. Just you, unless you're with another Kundalini awakened person who can see the activities that are being given upon you. Well, then it's typically just between you and the Kundalini itself. And you need to understand that. Becoming divine is not the easiest thing, even semi-divine, which is half. Okay, let's look at what it is to actually be semi-divine. Half of your body is luminous and within a Kundalini quality, and the other half is physical and material and is grounded to this earth, which means that you still need to eat, which means that you still go to the bathroom, which means that you still have skin and have hair and eyes and major organs. And yet it's not like a linear cut straight up the center of the body, and one half is divine and the other half isn't. It's mixed in to the body. Every cell might be cut in half. And so you begin to shine in a way that other people do not shine. Extreme levels of charisma, extreme levels of knowledge sometimes, extreme levels of physical activity at times, extreme levels of expression, creative expression, or work-based expression. Extreme levels will come to that person that has the Kundalini and that has half of their being entering into a luminous evolution. That's what's happening here. It's no longer about winning or losing anymore, because you've won. You've already won, and you've lost at the same time. You've won yourself into the spiritual illumination, and you've lost the focus on just the terrestrial mindfulness. You won and you've lost. And there's really no one to compete with. I get a lot of this sometimes, with people say, well, her Kundalini seems like it's so much stronger than my Kundalini, and my Kundalini just doesn't seem so good. It's like I just put my head in my hands sometimes and going, oh yeah, here we are. Kindergarten all over again. It's not about competition. There is no competition because everybody has different karma. If you had the same karma, then okay, I could see where a competitive aspect might be felt. But when there is no karmic resemblance, therefore there is no competitive resemblance except by the ego or the entities that attach to the ego and really drive the ego towards corruption. And this in and of itself can be a real blockage to the person really beginning to understand and to express in a luminous dialogue with the Kundalini. Allowing the ego to be infected by discarnate entities, having those qualities that they can get a handle on and then express through your body, your luminous body, their corruptions. This is very, very, you need to be very, very careful about that. And so, as Amelia said, you stick to the safeties. You stick to the safeties. You stick with the safeties, and you just let the safeties guide you. You forgive yourself. You forgive other people. Heck, you can even forgive those negative entities. You just forgive everybody and everything that is doing its best to corrupt you. And by doing that forgiveness, a handle for corruption is lost for those that would corrupt you. Okay? You need to understand this. You are becoming a refined body of light. You may come back into another life experience, but you'll come back with the luminous qualities intact within you. So you'll be a baby of light. You will have agreed to fall behind the veil of forgetfulness. So you won't know what you are. You'll have to relearn all of that information all over again. This could be what's happening with some of you right now. And those of you that fall into that category typically come back to help this world. To help this world evolve spiritually without egotistically diddling around with another person's energy. Like we have so many diddlers these days, people want to say, oh, well, let me see, I think I have to correct the spin of your chakras. It's just not spinning right. Nope, it's not spinning right, and it's spinning to the left, which can't be right because it's the left, and we all want it going to the right. So I'm going to have to stop your chakra and make it spin the way that my ego wants it to spin. Yay. Oh, I can't wait. We have a lot of people that want to diddle in other people's energy. Don't let anybody diddle in your energy. Certainly not those of you with the Kundalini already. Kundalini is the only person allowed to mess around with your energy. And she's very good at it. Seriously good at it. Very, very, very good at it. And that's who you let mess with that energy. Okay. There are many areas of control that we want to give up with regards to our energetic hygiene. But one thing we don't want to give up with our energetic hygiene are the practice of the safeties. We need to be really, really clear about what we allow to attach to us and what we don't. And I was working with a private student the other day, and I gave her this mantra for clearing your space. And so I'm going to use, I'll use a Manisha. And say, I am Manisha, and anything that is not of Manisha is gone now. There you go. Manisha has just cleared her space. And you say it as many times as you feel you need to say it. You can even turn it into a mantra. And if you still have problems, ask the Kundalini to help you with that. She probably will anyway. Okay? And this helps to create a bit of an energetic barrier, an intentional energetic barrier against corruption. Now, in the best case scenario, you can just handle the corruption yourself. And this could be one case, where you're handling the corruption yourself. You handle the corruption by just agreeing not to be corrupted in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't ever happen to you anymore. And you look forward to the tests of corruption. Wow, that guy dropped his wallet and nobody saw it. Wow. Oh my God, I can see the stack of cash that he has in that wallet. Oh my gosh, all I need is $20 to buy some food with. That's got to be okay, right? So there's that little entity yelling in your ear, get it, take it, cash it in. But the Kundalini in you is saying, wow, what a perfect opportunity. And you rush over, you pick up that man's wallet, and you hand it to him through his card, and he's so grateful because that was his rent money for he and his family that he was keeping in that wallet. It's very important to understand what it is you're doing within a Kundalini context. So don't think that any of those things that come to you like that are accidental, because they're not. They are tests given to you from the Kundalini to help the luminous qualities of grace more comfortably and more securely upon your energetic anatomy. This is part of the divine process, the semi-divine process, coming into you and working with you and changing you and molding you. And I want you to submit to those changes, submit to those moldings. Maybe the Kundalini is going to give you a person who's going to tell you a total lie to your face, a total lie. You know it's a lie, you're listening to the lie, and what are you doing when that person lies to your face? What is being tested there? Could it be forgiveness? Could it be honesty, tolerance? Could it be a lack of judgment? Could it be a discernment of fear in that other person that they're not willing to tell the truth for whatever reason? Could it be all of the above? And where are you going with your judgment when you receive that lie in your face? Are you so anxious to be so right and so, self-indulgent to prove that rightness of who you are? You just like smack them on the face with your truths. I know you're lying. Don't try to fool me. Is that the way to handle it? How are you handling that when that comes along? And how is the way you're handling it right now, and I'll leave that answer to yourself, how is it that you're handling that right now that serves the luminous evolution that's taking place within you right now? How is that serving you? Think about that. It's like Joey mentioned, It's paying attention to the behaviors that you have with the general public. That is really the testing area. But there's more than one field of testing. You know, there's the inner field of testing too. Have you forgiven yourself? So there's the forgiveness field of testing. Do you have gratitude for the divine and for all the opportunities of clarity that the divine has given you? And so there's the field of gratitude to work with too. Are you exercising? Are you keeping yourself in shape? Let me tell you my own personal experience with this part. You know, for years, most of my day would be sitting down, working on a laptop, and teaching people all over the world about the Kundalini, right? Not getting a lot of exercise. I'd have students come over, and I could still jog around the track, and I could run up the bleachers and down the bleachers, and around the track, and then up the bleachers and then down the bleachers, like you see the football players doing. But as I continued to teach and not stretch the body and not relax the body, it became harder and harder and harder to do that until I just stopped doing it. Okay. And then the Kundalini comes along and says, whoa, Mr. Chrism, Mr. I practice what you preach. No. And so she knew where my compassion levels are very high. Some students may not see that so much, but I have extremely high compassion level. And she brought a rescue wolf, husky hybrid in, and this is Tika. This is our new addition to the family here at the ashram. And this dog needs to be walked every day. So now, all of a sudden, I'm walking 2.5 miles per day, times 7. Think about that. From 0 to 2.5 miles a day times 7. I think that's like 16 miles a week. Think about that. And I'm doing it. I'll be doing it as soon as this show is over. At 5:30, we will be out there walking around the lake. They have a lake here in the middle of Santa Rosa where everybody takes their dog. What are you doing to honor the physical health that the Kundalini wants you to have within your body? What are you doing to honor that? I know at Rosemary's all over the world. I mean, she is in Minnesota. She's up at International City or whatever it is up there by the Canadian border. Her and Joey. She's like a Mario Andretti, except it's longevity. She can like drive for like hours. I love that woman. Okay. People are all over the place. They're doing these things. What are you doing? What are you doing? Cole writes in the flash chat room, he says, if you continue to compete with others, Kundalini will slowly take away your strength, weapons, and armor, so you are made prey by others, so you can learn about what it is to be stepped on by competitiveness. Very good, Cole. Cole, yeah, that's excellent. That is, yes, exactly right. Let me read what he wrote again. If you continue to compete with others, Kundalini will slowly take away your strength, weapons, and armor, so you are made prey by others, so you can learn about what it is to be stepped on by competitiveness. Very nice, Cole. Cole Kundalini, everyone. Phil Karuba writes, I think the hardest thing is to forgive yourself. Well, I think that can be for some people. Okay. And Manisha writes, Shakti made me dance at a concert today as the only one. Wow. Yep. I hear what you're saying, Manisha. And you bless them with your dance as well. So these are the things that we really, really need to get down to work with. What are you doing to change your life? Are you getting out of the chair? Are you getting off the couch? Are you getting out of competition? Are you surrendering yourself to the Kundalini, to your teacher? Are you surrendering yourself into the luminous evolution? What are you doing? What are you doing? You've been given one of the most powerful levels of spiritual conscious power that a person can have while still retaining a body. Now move with it, groove with it, surrender to that luminous evolution, surrender to the consciousness of that luminous evolution, that divine consciousness of that luminous evolution. Move with that and let it move you, let it change you, and embrace those changes. In many ways, some of you will have no choice whatsoever. You will be trapped. You will be trapped by the Kundalini, unable to sleep, unable to eat what you want, unable to have sex, unable to change your geographical location. You'll be trapped into this star chamber. Star chamber is like a pressure cooker, a pressure room. You'll be trapped inside this star chamber with the walls slowly coming in at you, forcing you to act, forcing you to embrace, forcing you to surrender. Don't let it get to that point, my friends. Give yourself to the Shakti Kundalini. Give herself to the teacher she's assigned you. I don't care if it's Gautama, I don't care if it's Jesus, I don't care if it's a Mexican jumping bean. Give yourself to that teacher. Learn the lessons of that Mexican His Holiness Mexican jumping bean. Give yourself to that movement from the within, that movement of a living, conscious life form inside that being that's causing it to move around, which is exactly what's happening in some of your tailbones right now. Give yourself to the teaching of the butterfly, to the teaching of the eagle, to the teaching of the serpent, to the teaching of the tiger, of the wolf, of the human being, the luminous evolution that is coming into you. Give yourself to this Shakti teaching. Every day, every minute, every second of every day. Keep it in the present. And if you got a plan for the future, plan how you're going to go even deeper into this Kundalini embrace. For those of you coming with me to Peru in February, begin to develop a relationship with the jungle within yourself, the jungle plants, the Liliana vines, get a picture of the ayahuasca vine and the chacruna leaf and the chacruna, Psychotria viridis. Get a picture of those and begin to develop a relationship with those forms of consciousness. Prepare yourself. Embrace this luminous evolution, my friends. Embrace it and embrace it strongly. Now, I'm going to come on over to the Celtic Queen of Questionable Comforts. Here she is. Hello.
Hi, chrism.
Hey. What's shaking? Kidding. Don't answer that. Do you have any questions that I can answer at this point?
I do. So let me see. The first one is the following. As of October the 10th, I've been dealing with my chronic inflammation condition for over a year. My question is, how do I begin the healing process?
Take out wheat in your diet. Take out wheat. Take out all wheat. The only form of wheat that you can eat, it will be the ancient grain of spelt, not the modern version of spelt, because they've crossed that with wheat, but with the ancient version of spelt, S-P-E-L-T, because that doesn't have the inflammation characteristics that GMO wheat does, or even organic, strains of wheat that we eat so much of these days. So take wheat out of your diet. Number one. Number two, she said chronic inflammation. I mean, is this a Kundalini person or is this just a regular person, Amelia?
this person who wrote to me privately and came from the groups, but I don't know well, but there is a Kundalini, it's from a Kundalini person, I would assume.
Okay. Well, if they're a Kundalini person, then they need to stay well hydrated. Chronic inflammation can, in some ways, pertain to the Kundalini, as as the organs enlarge themselves, but inflammation is more, I'm getting more of a red pain quality, almost like two jagged edges of a broken bone rubbing together, that crepitus type of quality with regards to inflammation, a lack of synovial fluid in a joint and in the ball joint, like in a hip or a knee or an elbow or a shoulder, that I'm getting with this person. And so I would also say that they need to increase their level of gelatin intake, and to take their 369s or the fish oils that they sell for that, as well as taking a level of vitamin C and vitamin C complex, because that has that fights that kind of a response within the body, the pain of that. What's the word I'm looking for? It's just I'm starting to slip into a stream here. Anyway, and they also, looking at this person, they have maybe a bit of a couch potato mentality. They need to get up and move. And I think the inflammation was the word I was looking for. The inflammation has grounded their exercise abilities to some degree, and I think they really need to get out and begin to do some yoga stretches and to breathe into each yoga stretch. So if you're just like keeping your knees straight and you're bending over and you're extending your fingers towards your toes, just that stretch, you stay there for at least 3 minutes, breathing slowly in and out, in and out, in and out for at least 3 minutes, but you can go for 5. If you can go for 5, go for 5. And then do a very, very, very gentle, non-repetitive yoga routine, and make sure you hold both sides of the body for an equal amount of time. And you do that. This person could benefit greatly from doing that. They could also benefit greatly from levels of Qigong at 3 a.m. Not that they will do that, but they need to get up at 3 a.m. and get outside in the morning air and do those Qigong moves. Once again, these Qigong moves, some of them can be fairly repetitious, like having your arms at your waist and then inhaling sharply through the nose and lifting your arms up at the same time and then bringing your arms down. Well, if you have inflammation in your shoulders and your elbows, then that's going to be that could be hurtful. So you may not want to do that at the beginning. So there's that. There's some outside to inside applications of getting, of having some resolution, with that type of a pain. Now let's go inside them here. And I see levels of resistance that they've been having to the Kundalini. And the more you resist the Kundalini, the harder it's going to get. And so they need to embrace the Kundalini. I see that they're seeing Kundalini as a causation of some of these illnesses or these pains. And they need to realize that it is they themselves that have caused this type of pain to come upon them. This manifestation of inflammation is often a result of diet, is also often a result of taking medications that damage the endocrine system in such a way that synovial fluid isn't produced, not eating the kind of foods that are anti-inflammatory, such as the spelt or just rye bread or rice bread, RICE bread, You don't have to eat wheat all the time, which is so pushed upon us in our societies. It's like Wheaties, right? Breakfast of champions, blah, blah, blah. You eat some of the ancient grains that people used to eat, like amaranth, eat chia. These types of grains are very, very nutritious, actually far more nutritious than wheat. It's very important for people to understand that. And it looks like Atlanta Seeker says curcumin and tart cherry extract supplements help inflammation. Well, there you go. Curcumin and tart cherry extract supplements can help with the inflammations, but not so much with the resistance to the Kundalini. If the Kundalini wants this person to get up and move, well then they're going to have to cross a Rubicon, so to speak. This was exactly what happened to me. Let me tell you what happened to me. Right before I left for England, just a few months ago, is when Tika, the dog, came into the home. And so I was walking literally with her for about a week before. So I went from 0 to 8 hours in front of the computer helping people with Kundalini to walking 16 miles in a week, and that did not agree with my knees very well at all. And if you talk to Amelia or Manisha, who's with me there, Amelia, Manisha, and Magdalene, and Hannah, Mr. Chrism was looking for the elevators. Mr. Chrism was whining and complaining. You mean there's no escalators here? I have to walk up the stairs. I don't know if you've seen the tube. What do they call it there in England? The
underground.
The underground.
The tube.
The
Yeah,
big
the underground. Yeah.
They've got these tremendous long staircases that you have to walk up, and if you've got a bad knee, well, hello, hallelujah, it's going to hurt, and it's going to hurt. So yeah, that's what happened to me, and I had to cross that Rubicon. I had to go into the pain. And of course, Amelia's giving me healings, Manisha's giving me healings, Hannah, Magdalene, other people are giving me healings, and helping me with it. So I really am appreciative of the Kundalini community and how willingness and compassionate they are and healing oriented they are to really help me with this. And when I came back from Europe, I went right back into. Actually, no, I rested. I rested for about 4 days, and poor Tika, she couldn't do too much during those 4 days. But I rested, and then I started doing it again. I was compelled to do this walking, and I was very, very cautious about it because, I didn't want to have a knee go out or anything like that because, I can't really get help. And I know that Josephine, she really worked hard to get me on this Obama thing here in the United States. So, because he's fining everybody that doesn't sign up for his version of health care. And so, I got fined $600, because of this healthcare thing. And so Josephine rushes over. She's a nurse, and she sets it all up. And I get on the healthcare thing. And so I suppose, they would give me a toothpick for a knee brace and call me healed and released. But, typically, I wouldn't be able to afford to have any kind of a medical application. And so my only option was to get out of the chair and walk with Tika and strengthen those muscles. And, of course, now I'll be cycling again to strengthen those side muscles and to really get things moving again. And so it's a real lesson. My lesson becomes your lesson. My lesson becomes your lesson. And you get off of that chair, you get off of that couch, and you get out of that bed, and you get going, you get moving. And this is what the Kundalini has pushed me to do, regardless of how many people need to be helped with the Kundalini. If you don't pay attention to your own Kundalini, well, then you're not helping anybody. You're not helping anybody. And so with this person, they also have that Rubicon that they need to cross as well. And I see and feel that they could also be helped by the thymus thump right now. THYMUS thump, and that's THUMP. P is in Paul. So the thymus thump would also help them, as well as any of the tapping things, anything that gets the endocrine system moving again. And I would also have them look into oral iodine if that was something that they're not getting in their diet. So there you have it, Satara. Thank you for your patience.
Thanks, Chrism. He also asked, could he or should he get outside to heal?
Get what?
Outside help, besides doing things himself. Should he go for healing?
I suppose, as long as it's not Reiki or Theta or, any of these weird, bizarre, self-aggrandizing healing modalities, if it's a real thing, sure.
Okay. The next question. Hello, ma'am. I wanted to ask about the spinal sweep. I have seen videos of chrism on spinal sweep, but what happens after spinal sweep? It's not mentioned in the videos. I mean, after the spinal sweep, does our DNA start changing and the process of chakra clearing and removal of blockages happen? I'm reading it exactly as it was written.
Thank you. Well, what happens after the spinal sweep is the mothership comes along and you get beamed up into this really beautiful beam of light, and then the aliens take you apart and begin to spin your chakras this way and that, and then they replace you on the soil of the earth and say, you are now enlightened. What do you think? Does that sound right?
Of course.
My experience with the spinal sweep and some others' experiences as well, it's almost like the spinal sweep never stops. It comes up like a huge tidal wave, and it takes your energy up and it merges your energy with the divine. And once that divine merge has been completed, it never goes away. Never goes away. And so you always have that divine signature upon you ever after. Even when all the effects of the spinal sweep may have receded, that divine signature is always there. And that is the signature that follows with you into consecutive lifetimes, should you choose to come back and should you be able to choose to come back. As far as chakra healing goes, the Kundalini knows how to work with the chakras. And the chakras know how to work with the Kundalini. That is in the DNA. That is in the DNA. People, the conscious ego-based individual does not have a clue about chakras or the spin or the quality of colors or the quality of action or inaction that the Kundalini has. I mean, in comparison to the Kundalini, there is no comparison. You leave your chakras alone and you let the Kundalini work on your chakras. She knows exactly what she needs to do, and she doesn't need help from your ego. So there's that. And as far as you may get an increased level of Kriya activity, I know I did. But a lot of people get Kriya activity before the spinal sweep too, as a form of preparation for the spinal sweep. You may have an increased contact with entities because you've surpassed the veil. You've gone beyond the veil and you've joined with divinity. And divinity is behind the veil and beyond the veil at the same time. And so you could have a stronger level of entity response as well, and so you get to deal with that from a divine sensation. In a way, I really feel like my karma didn't allow me to have a teacher, and so I didn't get to revel and to enjoy the interaction with entities, knowing that I had a divine signature. Oh my God, that changes the equation so drastically. When you know you have a divine signature, the entities come to you. It's just like it's simple. It's funny watching them try to scare you, watching them try to corrupt you. It's just like it's literally it's like those Keystone Cops movie. I mean, it's like Keystone Cops coming at you, with Charlie Chaplin and his funny little mustache. And so I didn't get to have that. I had to have it. in different ways. But the spinal sweep never stops in its effect upon you. It is always going, and it will heal the chakras. If it allows you to have the choice to resist, then you can resist, and you can keep eating that wheat or whatever it is you're eating, and you can have that inflammation or whatever pain, and you can go to the Reiki healer or the Theta healer and partake of that $9.99 mastership bought on the web, and receive that vanilla Reiki or that raspberry Theta. Fine, do that. I mean, you probably don't need to. You probably don't need the entity attachments that can entail. Not say will entail, but can entail. But you don't need to. You don't need to, and you certainly don't need to for the chakras at all. And the spinal sweep, as to summarize, Centaur, the spinal sweep never stops. Once that divine signature is in place, it's there and it's working. It's not just there sitting like a rock in the middle of your heart. It's sitting like a diamond, luminous form of light that is beginning the divine transformation into the luminous being that you will become with the Kundalini. Over.
Oh, that was lovely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so the next, because the imprint is always there. Okay. So the next question is, hi Santara, please ask chrism. I'm having a lot of amplification of negative emotions, lots of anger, sometimes a lot of purging, future worries. Small issues are amplified and out for days. My studies are disturbed and I have low blood pressure, eyes and vision, and I'm having lots of blue spots in the air. Basically, a lot of anxiety and joint pains as well. Sleepless nights and lots of carbs. Will you please ask on my behalf why I am not able to stick to a healthy diet?
Yikes! That didn't come through very clear at all, Centaur. Are you really close to that mic? What's going on? It's cutting out.
Oh dear. Okay, I'm holding it. Okay,
I'm
doing a test now.
Yeah. Much better.
Okay, I'm doing a test. Is that better?
Well, how close is your mouth to the iPad?
Can you hear me now? It's not the iPad, it's my phone.
How close is your mouth to the phone?
It's about 6 inches.
Read it again, if you would, please. Thank you.
I'm having a lot of amplification of negative emotions, lots of anger sometimes, a lot of purging, future worries. Small issues are amplified and I'm disturbed for days. My studies are disturbed and I have low blood pressure. My eyes and visions are affected and lots of blue spots in the air. Basically a lot of anxiety, joint pains too, sleepless nights, and a tendency to take sweets and a lot of carbs. Please ask on my behalf, why am I not able to stick to a healthy diet?
Well, it sounds like diet is the least of your concerns, really. It sounds like you're resisting the changes that the Kundalini is bringing, and you're resisting them strongly enough that it's causing this person to really fall into a level of debilitation that the Kundalini symptoms can bring when a person resists it so much. As far as the diet goes, sometimes the Kundalini will cause you to eat sugar. Any sugar that you can get, she won't care. She will cause you to eat sugar. I see another possible wheat issue with this person too, with regards to their joint pain. But I think the joint pain is actually, in this case, the endocrine system being rewired and changed, and so therefore the synovial fluid is maybe in a state of stasis at the moment, or isn't being as circulated as much, she'd need to be doing some yoga as well. And she needs to be doing the slow breathing into the yoga. If this is a woman, this person needs to be doing the yoga. They need to really be far more grateful with what is occurring. They're seeing everything as or at least everything that they've written is being kind of formulated as a complaint. And oh gosh, why aren't I as comfortable as I'd like to be? Because I've got studies to do, and I've got this and that to do, and oh gosh, I know I shouldn't be eating sugar or carbs, and yet here I am eating sugar and carbs. And are the carbs organic? Are the carbs, is it wheat? What are you eating that is not healthy for you? And is the Kundalini compelling you to eat this stuff? And if it is, you got to eat it. You got to pay attention to that. Levels of comfort. Looking at this person's heart, they have expectations of comfort that are really maybe unrealistic. This person needs to realize that they're in a level of change, a monumental change, and that there is going to be discomfort. And oh yes, you may have to live your life at the same time, but there are levels of discomfort that you're going to need to tolerate. She needs to really get into a hot bath, really hot bath with some baking soda in it, maybe about a cup of baking soda in it, and to soak in that for a while. She needs to really not focus so much on the negative. There's got to be some positivity that's occurring somewhere in that life. And she needs to really begin to focus on the positivity and to be gracious and to be thankful for the Kundalini in the way that it's coming and in the thing that it's directing her to do. The blue spots are a real good indication that Kundalini is there and it is working and it is changing and it is transforming. And so does she need to equally work and accept and change and allow the transformation to occur. Over.
Thank you, chrism. Next question. What happens to a person on spiritual path after divine merging and Kundalini awakening?
Unity. Over.
Thank you. There was one, and I'm scrolling back up to it, and this is the last one then of the private questions that were sent to my inbox. Terrified of snakes, and I read all about this on the group. All I read about on the group is snakes and the Kundalini, and how snakes come not just in the dream world, but in reality. This is really putting me off the Kundalini.
It's not the snakes that are putting them off the Kundalini, it's their fear that is putting them off the Kundalini. And so they don't want to allow fear to control whether or not they are willing and able to move into the Kundalini. If the fear of serpents is putting that person off the Kundalini, then they need to reassess why they're even exploring it. Okay. If the fear of spiders puts you off of the Kundalini, why are you even exploring the Kundalini? Because the spiders come too. If the fear of any specific life form, a wasp, or a cat, or a wolf, or a dog, or a praying mantis, if you've got a phobia against the praying mantis, then, and you know that the praying mantis comes to people with the Kundalini, well then hello. It is the fear, it is the phobia itself that is blocking it, not the animal. Not the animal that's doing anything. It's the person's fear that is blocking them. And, if they're going to allow their fear to block them, then, they need to look at their fear and why they're afraid and what they're willing to sacrifice in their path. Within the Kundalini, to allow the Kundalini to come regardless of their fear. You don't get to paint an outline. It's not like paint by the numbers. You got, okay, We'll paint the outline for how the Kundalini is going to respond to me because I don't like praying mantises, or I don't like snakes, or I don't like spiders, whatever it is. I don't like frogs. So okay, as long as you don't come to me as a frog, then I'll explore. No. Remember, this is the power of 1,000 novas, stars. I mean, this is a huge power, and this power doesn't get to be directed by the feeble ego mind of the individual saying, "I'm afraid it's me." This is the ego mind that is trying to direct the show. So until a person can really begin to make that adjustment of the ego mind from directing the show, they probably should back off of the Kundalini a little bit until they can get a hold of that. Over.
So that's the end of those. This comes from the group now, chrism. These questions are on the group. Is there something that protects me? Like, whoops, sorry, forgot. Can you hear me?
What? Kidding.
No. Is this okay? Yeah.
What? No, it's fine.
Okay. Okay. Is there something that protects me, like angels or spirits? That's the question.
I know. I understand. Everybody comes into the world with levels of spiritual guidance for them. I'm not saying that protection is the main goal, but guidance would be more of a goal. And if they can guide you away from harm, then yes, you are protected. They won't typically guide you into harm. Within a Kundalini context, the Kundalini wants you not to be afraid. If you're not afraid, then there is no need of protection. This is why within the Kundalini, I advise people not to say, "Oh, well, Archangel Michael is always there doing my every little command because he's got a really big sword and he's in charge of all the other angels and he's the one I like and so he's there protecting me." And all this person is doing is advertising their fear, which of course attracts those things that enjoy scaring a person or frightening a person. And so you may as well put a big red flag over your head saying, "I'm deathly afraid of everything." And so here's Archangel Michael waving the red flag going, "Okay, here's a smorgasbord tonight." And on the other hand, it gives a person peace of mind. People who are not awakened, it gives them peace of mind. It's like, "Oh, I'm being protected by the main boss of all the angels, so I feel really good." And if that's what they need to feel protected, then so be it. But if you need to feel protected at all, you need to reassess what you're doing. Kundalini gives courage. It gives fearlessness. You put your trust and your faith in the Kundalini, and she won't necessarily keep all fear-mongering scenarios away from you, but she will give you the strength, and she will help you give yourself the strength to meet it head on and encourage fearlessness and courage rather than depending on Archangel Michael or Chief Red Feather or the Arcturians or any of the other names that we have for things that we would like to have protect us because we're just so spiritual. Over.
Or even stones. People put a lot of,
What was that? You're either too close or what did you say again?
Even stones, I'm saying. People will choose stones to protect them,
Oh, crystals, yes. Well,
Yeah, crystals, yeah.
Black tourmaline, will protect you from all the entities. And black tourmaline could really care less about your entity problem. Okay, it doesn't really care. about what your levels of fear are. Black tourmaline has its own evolution that it's working with, and it doesn't really jive with the human conceived ideas that black tourmaline keeps entities away. It's silly, but it's what people need to do. And if people need to do that level of anthropomorphism for feeling safe, well then so be it. So be it. It's just a level that they'll move through, hopefully, eventually. Over.
Okay, next question. Thank you. Next question. This is a long one from the group, Chrism, just to give listeners a feeling for it. I wanted to share that I have been seeing blue, violet, silver rays lately in my dreams. Last night I saw a huge white full moon and a beautiful blue aura in my dream. And she goes on to talk about the various ways that blue's coming to her. And she went into meditation, and after the meditation continued with the chores. And she's wondering, is there any particular significance to this blue that she is seeing and the moon's energy in the dream?
It's the merging of the sacred male and the sacred female. The moon or the lunar influence being feminine, and the blue being of a masculine quality of Kundalini luminescence. That's what she's seeing.
Over?
Over. Yes, ma'am. Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. The next question is, this is another long one. It's a daughter, she's 5, and the daughter is gifted in a spiritual way. And she told the lady yesterday when she got home from school that she had a new invisible friend that she plays with. And there's some more details about that. And she asks a question about that. Would you speak about that, Chrism, please?
Yeah, invisible friends are only invisible to the people who have grown up in a society that teaches them how not to see. And the children haven't necessarily been taught that yet. And so they can see spirit, and they can have an invisible friend. And so they're not so invisible to the kids. They're quite real. And typically they're friendly. Typically, oftentimes a person, has an invisible friend, and they talk and they play and they do this or that together, and then eventually the human child begins to be taught that everything is imaginary and therefore not real, and therefore they lose that ability to communicate behind the veil. And so, with this little girl, I believe the playmate was a young Indian girl with nice tan skin and very colorful clothing, and so I think that this is real. This is something that a person can watch and query about. If it's your child, you want to make sure that the child isn't being possessed. And you can even set some of the guidelines of their interaction together, as long as you begin to treat it with validation rather than with skepticism. If you treat it with validation, you can say, okay, well, she can only play with you at a certain amount of time, and then you got to do your homework, or you got to go to bed, or you got to clean your room, or you got to eat dinner, or whatever. She doesn't get to be with you all the time, and this initiates a level of control over the reality without invalidating the reality. And so this is how I would look at that. Over.
That's very helpful. Thank you, Chrism. Next question. I have a question. I have never seriously practiced any kind of meditation or yoga. I have been spending the past 8 or 9 months in thorough research about different kinds of yoga and meditation, but never practiced. All I did was sit for meditation whenever I wanted. I suddenly see snakes in my dream and observe a lot of symptoms of Kundalini awakening, like sudden periods of bliss, sessions of weeping, eerie lights, involuntary forceful breathing, etc. I don't know if this is really Kundalini awakening. Does this awakening happen without any effort from us?
Well, I would agree with another person who responded to that she's made quite a bit of effort there. If she's been studying it for how long?
8 to 9 months in research.
8 to 9 months of study, and then I think she put in the amount of meditation, the amount of focus, the amount of mindfulness, the amount of internal digestion of information that has allowed her Kundalini to come up. So I won't agree with her in suggesting that she hasn't done anything. I think she's done quite a bit, and I think the Kundalini wanted her to get a level of information first, because as I have said before, information is power within the Kundalini equation, and so she's been allowed to get as much information as she could have and hold to begin to validate her understanding that she is indeed activated with the Kundalini, and she's having all the signs and symptoms of activated Kundalini, and congratulations to her. Over.
Okay, well, that's it, Chrism. And maybe I could give out the... Whoops, I'm doing myself. Okay, I'll give out the website. Okay, so for those of you who would like to make a donation to support the work that Chrism does, here is the website. It's www.ascension-kundalini.blogspot.com, and the donate button in that instance is on the right-hand side. I have another one I can give you. It's www.chrism-kundalini.blogspot.com. That's easy to remember, chrism-kundalini.blogspot.com. That's it, Chrism. Thank you very much. No more questions.
Thank you, and I'm going to come on over here to Miss Rosemary here. And Rosemary, hello.
Yes. Hello.
Do you have any announcements? Do you have announcements?
Yes, I do. I said, don't hang up yet. Yes, we have. I looked at it. We have 3 weeks and 2 days before our seminar begins here in Minnesota. And my contact information is 651-452-3161, Rosemary G, at usinternet.com. And there is also, you'll be coming early to do some talks and to be at a very large holistic expo here in town that's very highly attended, and you will be speaking there also. And what I referred to earlier, I was getting things ready for this weekend in Mankato, which is about an hour and a half south of the cities. There is a University of Minnesota there, and there is an expo that I'll be participating there on the campus, getting ready for that, and also showing the film. And in this one, they have 90-minute sessions, and that's sufficient. The other regular ones, expos don't have that, so this would be great. Anyone in the area, come. And I think that's about it for now. But
when is the seminar, Rosemary?
I'm sorry, November 14th and 15th. So I think we have 2 more Wednesdays, and that'll be it.
Okay, all right. Thank you, my dear. Thank you for those announcements. And I would like to thank everybody who has been listening. And I just want to say that, all of these questions and the subject that we're talking about really tie in together with the acceptance of the Kundalini luminous evolution occurring within you. See that light. Surround yourself with the light, the deep dark red of the sacred feminine and the deep dark blue of the sacred male. Find a bracelet or a ring. You'd wear the ring on the right, the blue on the right and the red on the left. Remind yourself constantly and surround yourself with these colors. Allow them to manifest outside of you in as brilliant and beautiful a way as they manifest on the inside of you, as they represent the different halves of the body. the sacred male and the sacred feminine, the two that are one and the one that is two. Really begin to develop an understanding and a surrender to this equation, this evolution that is occurring within you. Do not get in your own way, no matter how hard the ego rebels against it, no matter how hard the ego and discarnate entities try to corrupt and to twist your equation through your emotional body and through the idea of expectations. Don't let it occur. Stand fast. Hold fast to your Kundalini. Give yourself to your Kundalini, or the teacher that she's given to you. Really, really begin to invest your life and your blood and your heartbeats into this equation. This you do get to take with you. This comes with you after you pass into death. This is immortal, and so is that part of you which is merged with the Kundalini. You get to take this with you, folks. Do not think otherwise. So invest yourself into this. The kingdom of heaven is within you right now. And that king and that queen, empowered equally within you, are calling to you, asking you to join with her and him. So invest into this. Surrender to this great, majestic force within you. Always look at any actions that you're given to do for their moral, ingredient that is given within them. You'll always know whether you're being infected by an entity, by the level of morality that is given, and whether or not anything has even asked permission to be in you. You'll always know. You'll have, and you know, don't be afraid, but caution is not fear. Don't be afraid to question what's going on within you. Some lies just take longer to expose. And we all come from a society that is festooned with entities. You look in the Twin Cities, and it's like every other person there's some sort of a channeler wanting to become famous, or a Reiki person. And so really begin to separate the wheat from the chaff. I know I'm just brimming with Bible things here, but just really begin to accept that separation and allow that the knowledge and the discernment that comes from that separation to feed your understanding of truth and the broadening spectrum of truth that is developing within you by the Kundalini. You're a very, very special person. Very special and very needed on this planet right now. You are a point of divine grace upon this world. A point of divine light. And let that knowledge carry you forward. Let that love for humanity, love for the environment, the animals, the sky, the water, the earth, love for this planet, and love and validation for the divine within you help you to invest in greater and greater ways into the Kundalini that's activated and awakening within you. I want to thank you all for coming. And Vincent, you want the mantra over the air? No, I'm not going to give you the mantra over the air. Vincent91, you're going to have to email me at kfireforall, KFIREFORALL @yahoo.com. Email me there, private email, and I'll give you your mantra. Don't you worry. I'll do it tonight after Tika takes me for a walk. Okay, kfireforall, KFIREFORALL @yahoo.com. Or you can use Facebook. Yes, private message me at Facebook. Chris Mitchell. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Santara, Eileen, Josephine, and Rosemary, and Joey. Thank you, Alana Seeker, Manisha, Mary Jean, Phil Karula, Tim Ashworth, Vincent 91, and Cole Kundalini. Thank you all for participating in this program. Good night.